WADR, promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and 1 p.m. in Abuja. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Protests erupts in Nigeria over passage of controversial electoral bill.
Okay, we are in front of National Assembly right now. We brought over 500 Nigerian citizens to protest against the weakening of transmission of election results.
Senegalese police dismantle transnational child exploitation ring. The Gambia's Council for Civic Education unveils 2026 election roadmap.
Our mission is clear: to strengthen civic and voter education, promote inclusive and peaceful political participation, and safeguard a credible and transparent electoral process.
And Barrick Gold announces gradual resumption of operations in Mali. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
On the news, this is a more edit.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. We'll begin in Nigeria, where fears over the failure of electoral transparency in the country are mounting following the Senate's passage of the 2026 Electoral Act Amendment Bill. While lawmakers claim the bill strengthens the legal framework for future polls, civil society groups are sounding the alarm over the National Assembly's refusal to make the electronic transmission of results mandatory. The decision has triggered threats of nationwide protests from organized labor and sharp criticism from democracy advocates across the sub-region. From Abuja, correspondent Yechin Sasache says the Senate has scheduled an emergency plenary for Tuesday to clarify their position. Her report.
Nigeria's quest for a foolproof voting system has hit a fresh legislative hurdle. The Senate has officially passed the third reading of the Electoral Act Amendment Bill 2026, but it is the missing mandatory clause on electronic results that is dominating the national conversation. During the high-stakes plenary, lawmakers opted to retain a controversial provision from the 2022 Act. This allows the Independent National Electoral Commission, or INEC, to choose its mode of transmission rather than legally requiring a real-time digital upload to the iRev portal. For democracy advocates, this is a retrogressive step. The Nigeria Civil Society Situation Room warns that leaving technology to the discretion of officials opens the door for manual manipulation, the very thing that reforms were meant to cure. The political temperature is rising. The Nigeria Labour Congress has warned of nationwide strikes if the bill is not adjusted to guarantee technological integrity. Meanwhile, Senate leadership insists that the law does not reject electronic transmission, but simply provide INEC with operational flexibility, a position they hope to make clearer during the emergency plenary scheduled for Tuesday. As the bill moves toward a potential harmonization with the House of Representatives, the pressure is now on President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Will he sign a bill that critics say weakens public trust, or send it back to satisfy a demanding electorate? For WADR, Yechin Sasache in Abuja.
Meanwhile, citizens in Nigeria are protesting against the exclusion of the mandatory electronic transmission of election results from the electoral bill passed by the Senate. Protesters gathered at the entrance of the National Assembly in Abuja, the capital, this Monday for the Occupy National Assembly demonstration organized by the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Despite the Senate issuing several clarifications indicating that it has not rejected electronic transmission of results, the protesters are demanding that lawmakers explicitly include the phrase real-time electronic transmission in the proposed legislation. Ma Odi is the co-convener, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. She speaks with WDR about the protest.
Okay, we are in front of National Assembly right now. We brought over 500 Nigerian citizens to protest against the weakening of transmission of election results to INEC portal. We just want to see real-time transmission of election results from polling units to the INEC server, which Abio have removed, and return it to the way it was in year 2022 Electoral Act, which made it possible for Professor Yakub to lead Nigerian citizens' election and stole our votes and declared whatever he declared in the midnight that day. And now they have reduced the time frame for the release of the INEC timetable for the next general election. They have reduced it from 360 days to 180 days. We want them to return it to 360 days. So INEC will have an ample time to plan, to coordinate, to strategize, and to conduct the year 2027 general election. Anything short of it is unacceptable to us.
Maodi is the co-convener, Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Now, with the Gambia's presidential election set for December 5, 2026, the National Council for Civic Education, or NCCE, is moving to secure the country's democratic foundations. The council has officially launched its 2026 roadmap, a strategic framework designed to tackle voter apathy and safeguard the peace in what is expected to be a high-stake transition. The plan prioritizes grassroots awareness to ensure that meaningful participation begins long before citizens reach the ballot box. From Banjul, our correspondent Sang Donamendi reports.
The countdown to December 5th has officially begun. The NCCE's newly unveiled roadmap is a direct response to the growing need for an informed electorate in the Gambia's maturing democracy. By prioritizing nationwide sensitization, the Council aims to ensure that citizens are not just participants but stakeholders in the democratic process. Sering Fai, chairman of the NCCE, explains that civic awareness is the primary tool for meaningful engagement.
Our mission is clear: to strengthen civic and voter education, promote inclusive and peaceful political participation, and safeguard a credible and transparent electoral process.
Beyond the ballot box, the chairman is issuing a call for national unity. He believes the success of the 2026 cycle depends on the collective will of Gambians to reject provocation and uphold the country's fragile peace.
The NCCE therefore calls on all political actors, supporters, and the general public to prioritize national unity, remembering that our shared identity as a nation transcends political affiliation. True nationalism is shown through the protection of our peace and respect for our fellow citizens.
The roadmap's success hinges on a massive community outreach campaign designed to reach decentralized regions where information gaps are widest. To bridge this divide, the Council is leaning heavily on the media, calling on journalists to act as truth guides against the rise of election year misinformation. As the political atmosphere begins to build, the NCCE says this roadmap is the blueprint for a transparent and non-violent transition. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdona Mendy in Banjul.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Benin, members of the 10th legislature of the National Assembly were officially inaugurated on Sunday. The 109 deputies, all drawn from the two parties of the presidential movement, were sworn in during a ceremony held at the Governor's Palace in Porto Novo, the country's capital. Former Justice Minister Joseph Jogbenu was elected Speaker of the Beninese National Assembly and will preside over the legislature for the next 7 years. Christopher Tijo gives us the details in this report.
During this inaugural session, the decision of the Constitutional Court proclaiming the final result of the vote of 11 January 2026 was first read out and then read the names of the elected deputies. The installation of this new term takes place in an unprecedented political contest. For the first time, Benin's MPs begin a 7-year term. According to Enda Antoine Enda, the oldest member of parliament, this ceremony symbolizes the continuity of the institution.
Cette assemblée doit être le lieu de dialogue exigeant.
This assembly must be a place for rigorous dialogue, but also for dignity, where even the most spirited speech remains guided by a concern for the common good. Our fellow citizens expect from us not only answers to their concerns, but also exemplary conduct in the exercise of the mandate with which we have been entrusted.
For the control of the parish, Joseph Jogbenu was chosen as the new president of the National Assembly, a unique candidate. The president of the Progressive Union, UPR Renewal, was unanimously elected to succeed Louis Vlavonu. His fellow members who voted for him are already aware of the challenges ahead.
You know, when we talk about specific power, it is limited.
First, to provide lightening, the expansion of water access, the construction of roads, health centers, and school facilities.
With this new legislature, it is a new political era that is opening up in Benin, with all the deputies from the presidential movement for the next 7 years. As a reminder, the lower house of the Beninese parliament is composed of 109 deputies, with 60 elected for the Progressive Union of Renewal and 49 for the Republican bloc.
That was a report by our Cotonou correspondent Aziz Adam Sulian, voiced by Christopher Atijo. Elsewhere, the majority caucus of the governing National Democratic Congress in Ghana's parliament is calling for the immediate cancellation of the party's recent parliamentary primaries in the Ayawaso East constituency, following allegations of widespread vote buying and inducement. The lawmakers are urging party executive to annul the contest, organize a fresh primary, and impose strict sanctions on any aspirant found culpable, even as both party and state authorities launch parallel investigations into the controversy. They warn that the allegations, if left unaddressed, could undermine the credibility of the party's internal democratic processes and erode public confidence. From Accra, Nadi Tete reports.
In a statement signed by the majority leader and leader of government business, Mahama Yarga, the caucus condemned the development, saying they contradict its agenda to reset Ghana's politics and were reached after extensive consultations with its leadership. The group is therefore calling on the party's functional executive committee to annul the contest, organize a fresh primary, and bar any candidate found culpable from taking part in a rerun. The controversy follows reports that aspirant and now former Ghana's High Commissioner to Nigeria, Mohammed Baba Jamal Ahmed, allegedly distributed items including 32-inch television sets to delegates, claims some party insiders say may have influenced voting patterns. But Baba Jamal has denied any wrongdoing.
So if you give television sets to people, what is wrong with it when you gift things to people? Is this the first time I'm gifting things to people? Those of you who know me know that every Christmas, every occasion, every instant, I have put down 2.5 million to give free loans to people. So if today people are coming to vote and we are giving them something, if you have listened to me carefully, I say, look, if somebody gives you gifts, you can take. But allowing that gift to influence your vote is what is wrong. All this week, you think that you can bring people together and give them water. It is not the item. It is the intention.
Meanwhile, the Office of the Special Prosecutor has announced investigations into similar vote-buying allegations involving both the governing party and the opposition New Patriotic Party. Within the party, a 3-member committee has also been set up to probe the Ayawaso East claims and recommend reforms ahead of a report due by February 10, 2026, as the caucus reiterates its commitment to restoring public trust in Ghana's democratic institutions. For WADR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
Away from politics, Senegalese authorities have dealt a major blow to a transnational criminal network involved in the horrific exploitation of minors. In a sweeping operation spanning Dakar and Kaolack, police arrested 14 individuals accused of operating a sophisticated pedophile ring with deep links to France. According to a police statement released on Sunday, the group has been active since 2017. Investigators revealed that the suspects allegedly forced young boys into unprotected and filmed sexual acts with men, many of whom were HIV positive. The network was reportedly directed by a Frenchman arrested in northern France last April, who used money transfers to coordinate the group's activities. All 14 defendants, who are Senegalese nationals, appeared before a judge on Friday. They face grave charges including organized pedophilia, pimping, rape of minors, and the intentional transmission of HIV. This operation marks a significant victory in the regional fight against organized crime and child abuse. In the Central Sahel region, particularly in Mali, Canadian mining giant Barrick Gold has announced a gradual resumption of operations at the Loulo-Gounkoto Gold Complex, one of the country's most strategic mining sites. The announcement follows months of tense negotiations between the company and the Malian government. The restart of activities at Loulo-Gounkoto is seen as a significant development for Mali's economy, and public finances, given the mine's contribution to national revenue. Augustine Goli has the details in his report.
The mining site was closed in early 2025 following a dispute between Barrick Gold and the Malian state relating to the application of the Mining Code of 2023. After several months under provisional administration, an agreement reached last November ended the dispute. For Modibo Maumakalu, a Malian economist, this recovery is first and foremost a positive signal for the national economy.
The amount that was paid at the start of the dispute, we were talking about $500 million claimed by the Malian state. A portion of the amount has already been paid, but there was already an amount that had been paid before that. However, I think that if an agreement has been reached, it means that we are closer to the total of $500 million in payments received by the Malian state.
But this recovery remains marked by a significant drop in volumes, far from the levels reached in 2024. In 2026, Canada's mining giant predicted a production of between 260,000 and 290,000 ounces of gold, much lower than in 2024. For the state, therefore, the issue is not only production, but above all, the collection of income generated by gold mining. According to The Economist, the first financial benefits are already noticeable.
If we could assess the lost earnings between January 2025 and the signing of the agreement in November 2025, that is to say, the losses that were nonetheless generated following the non-production of the Lolo Gunkoto mine, I think the figures must be staggering. Nevertheless, there are bright prospects because for the Malian economy, which is driven by gold revenues, I think this is good news, and that we must preserve in this direction.
Beyond these figures, the ongoing discussions on the renewal of Lulot's mining license, which is coming to an end, are a key moment. For Bamako, it is now a matter of transforming this reviver into a sustainable level of economic sovereignty at a time when gold remains more than ever at the heart of the Malian economy.
That was a report by our Bamako correspondent, Liu Chairman, voiced by Augustine Goli. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar, and around the world on wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Protests erupts in Nigeria over passage of controversial electoral bill. Senegalese police dismantle transnational child exploitation ring. The Gambia's Council for Civic Education unveils 2026 election roadmap. And Barrick Gold announces gradual resumption of operations in Mali. Still ahead, we do have a press review, the guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, you can listen to us live on wadr.org and follow live streams on YouTube and Facebook. We head now to Burkina Faso, where the situation there is taking the fresh steps to reposition its economy and attract some sources of investment. The Burkinabe government recently announced the launch of an international investment forum aimed at strengthening economic sovereignty and reducing dependence on traditional partners. Our correspondent reports that the initiative comes at a time of major political, economic and security shifts in the country. Usman Ramal reports.
In Ouagadougou, the Burkinabe government says the International Investment Forum is designed to open a new chapter in the country's economic strategy. Authorities say the forum will focus on key sectors considered vital to national development, including mining, energy, agriculture, and infrastructure. According to officials, a range of incentives has been put in place to attract both regional and international investors with the love of boosting production and increasing state returns. The initiative comes against the backdrop of ongoing political and economic reforms, as well as persistent security challenges across the Sahel. The current leadership says it is determined to strengthen economic independence and diversify partnerships beyond Burkina Faso's traditional allies. Economic analysts, however, say that attracting sustained investment will depend largely on improvements in security, legal clarity, and infrastructure development. They stress that investors will be looking for guarantees of stability and predictable economic policies. Despite these challenges, the government remains optimistic. Officials say the forum is an opportunity to project Burkina Faso as a credible investment destination and to lay the groundwork for a more resilient and self-reliant economy.
Martin Kaba in Ouagadougou filed a report and voiced by Usman Omar.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
All right, we'll return back to Abuja and rejoin Echin Satichu for the press review.
Let's begin with the nation. Senate reconvenes on Electoral Act 2022 amendment. China-bound auto parts dealer arrested at Kano Airport for ingesting 95 wraps of cocaine. Ogun State to build 1 billion naira AI-powered digital classroom at RSS. Moving to Guardian, a former deputy national publicity secretary of APC, Timmy Frank, petitions U.S. President Donald Trump, warning that Nigeria's democracy is under serious threat. Senior advocate of Nigeria rank under scrutiny as AGF, CJN warn against abuse of influence. Bandits kill one in Kwara Fresh attack. And over to Vanguard. President Tinubu receives U.S. military delegation at Aso Rock. Sources reveal how 3 southern senators scuttled real-time e-transmission of election results. NLC threatens mass boycott, mass action over electoral ambiguity. Manufacturers record 1.8 trillion naira unsold goods as demand slumps. And lastly in Punch, Electoral Act standoff. Senate calls emergency plenary as protests loom. Ghana recalls envoy to Nigeria over alleged electoral malpractice. From the entertainment scene, it was easier to tour Europe, US than Africa, says Mr. Easy. And then in sports, Nigerians stand out as Seattle Seahawks emerged champions at Super Bowl. And that's it on Press Review. Back to you in the studio.
Many thanks, Yechin Sasichun, with the press review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our focus is on Nigeria, where fears over the future of electoral transparency in the country are mounting following the Senate's passage of the 2026 Electoral Act Amendment Bill. While lawmakers claim the bill strengthens the legal framework for future polls, civil society groups are sounding the alarm over the National Assembly's refusal to make the electronic transmission of results mandatory. The decision has resulted in protests by citizens who gathered at the National Assembly in Abuja this morning. Our guest is Mma Odi, co-convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room and the organizer of the protest.
We just want to see real-time transmission of election results from polling unit to the annex server, which Abio have removed, and return it to the way it was in year 2022 Electoral Act, which made it possible for Professor Yakub to lead Nigerian citizens' election and stole our votes and declared whatever he declared in the midnight that day. And now they have reduced the time frame for the release of the annex timetable for the next general election. They have reduced it from 360 days to 180 days. We want them to return it to 360 days. So ANEC will have an ample time to plan, to coordinate, to strategize, and to conduct the year 2027 general election. Anything short of it is unacceptable to us.
From a civil society perspective, what are the biggest risks to Nigeria's electoral credibility if electronic transmission of results is not made mandatory in the amended Electoral Act?
The biggest risk is that there will be no election in year 2027. They will just select themselves and lead the election from source. If they remove the real-time transmission of election results, making it mandatory from the polling unit and next server, then the whole story is that there will be no election. They will select APC people and they will declare themselves winners and victorious, and now continue their corruption and the suffering and poverty in Nigeria. That's why we are pushing back that enough is enough.
Why is electronic transmission of results so critical for elections in Nigeria, particularly given the country's past experiences with disputed polls?
Okay, why it is very critical is that they rig election during collation of results. By the time the result pass from polling unit to registration center, they read the election there. They also read the election in the ward level, read the election in local government level. What they are bringing to the state correction center is a read the election. So what happens at the polling unit is that what is counted in the polling unit before the party agents, before observers, both national and international observers, are the true reflection of people's will and also votes count. So by the time they use the polling unit to the ward level, to state, to local government level, they have lead the election there. That's when they change figures. From the ward level, they change figures.
The Senate is expected to hold an emergency plenary on Tuesday. So what specific actions or assurances are civil society organizations expecting from the lawmakers?
We are waiting for them, and some of us are also protesting tomorrow. And when we do not see the real time transmission, they come back to them. Because when they rig the election, the result of the rigging of the election is bad governance. Because we don't vote for them. We don't have security in Nigeria. We don't have welfare. Our poverty is growing every day. So we want our votes to count so that the people who were elect will be our preferences, will be our choice. And the votes count will be a reflection of our choices. Our votes must count. There must be real-time transmission of election results from the polling unit and next.
Ma Odi is the co-convener of the Nigerian Civil Society Situation Room. Well, in sport news, in women's football, Malawi under-20 women's national team head coach Maggie Chombo Sadiq has praised her players for securing a hard-fought 1-1 draw against Guinea-Bissau in the first leg of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup preliminary round played at the Estadio 24 de September. The hosts opened the scoring shortly after the break when Quita da Silva converted a free kick in the 48th minute. However, the young Scorchers showed resilience and were rewarded in the 75th minute when Sarah Libinka struck the equalizer to give Malawi a valuable away result. Chombo commended our charges for their fighting spirit against a strong opponent. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mustafa Seg and Maudoju for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms, X, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook at WADR English. I am Emo Edit. Good afternoon.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.0,
Hilltop Radio 104.7 FM,
and Veritas Radio 102.9 in Banjul, the Gambia. We also appreciate our listeners in Liberia via Alternative Youth Radio 98.9 FM, Lofa County,
Radio Kagama 94.5 FM, Nibe County, DCN Radio 91.3 FM, Riverside County, Wakat FM Radio, Banga, Liberia, Radio Gulf FM 91.3 Sierra Leone in Nigeria, and Love 104.5 FM Abuja.
For you listening via Radio Pad 95.1 Damango, Savannah region, and on Royals FM 104.7 Wenchi, Ghana, we say a big thank you. Remember, West Africa Democracy Radio is all about you, your views, and your opinions.